Yo guys, what's up? So we have the 21-22 NHL season back. Here's some predictions for you. I'm gonna leave that in after this intro. But just before I do that, this season's gonna be awesome. We're going back to a full 82 game schedule. We got conferences, we got divisions back to normal, we got conference finals, we even got wild cards. Everything's going back to normal finally. So that's really exciting, and that's why I have these predictions for you. Let's go. Okay, so placing the top of the Pacific Division, I see Seattle. Main reason is that Seattle has been such a good team with these off-season. Of course, in their expansion draft, they didn't seem to make the right choices, but in the actual draft, they picked up a lot of nice forwards, and what they did with trades and free agency, I think they did a really good job picking up Grubauer for their goaltender. I think it's an amazing move, so I'm putting them top of this. It's also the Vegas effect, being that Vegas placed first in their division in their first year, so I'm going to put Seattle with 104 points as the top team. Next, I have Vegas placing with 100, not too far behind, but with Fleury gone, and Leonard in net. Leonard's not that bad, but when it comes to those backup nights, those are what I'm most worried about. Next, I have the Oilers, 93, a solid team. What can I say? 93 makes sense for them. Next, I have the LA Kings placing with 87. To me, that just makes sense. LA, I think, could look as a strong playoff contender, but in the end, I don't feel they will make the cut. Next, I have Calgary with 72. Sorry, LA had 87, and Edmonton had 93. Next, I have Calgary with 72 points. I think these Canadian teams, Calgary and Vancouver, with 67 points, will have a lot of beef throughout the season. I think that Calgary fans will think they're way ahead of Vancouver fans, and Vancouver fans will think vice versa. Next, I have San Jose with 54 points, and the reason I have San Jose down here is because, well, they're a California team. No, but usually I would say that San Jose is the team to bounce back, but they haven't made the right rebuilds or moves as I think LA did, so I'm going to put them here down with 54. Next, I have Anaheim with 49. I think Anaheim will be a really bad team this year. I think they'll actually play not only worse in this division, but worse in the league, mainly because I don't see any other team that could do it. Buffalo, I think that would be too tragic for them 2 years in a row, and Columbus, I think, will end up getting more points than Anaheim in the end. So I'm going to put Anaheim down with 49 points, just outside that 50-point margin, and there we go. Next, we have the Central Division, and I see Dallas being able to clinch the conference with 114 points. They're a solid team. Of course, they took a bit of a down year last year, mainly because of injuries and bad scheduling and a rough start to the season, honestly, and that was their main problem this season, last season. Next, I have Colorado with 109 points, and the only reason I have Colorado below Dallas and not in first place is because they do not have Grubauer. Of course, Kemper's in net now, and he should be able to get them a lot of games won, but I just feel that without Grubauer, they are going to fall down in the margins a bit. However, they're still Colorado. They're a strong team, putting them with 109 points. Next, I have St. Louis. Now, St. Louis is the one team, I don't really know if they should be here. They had a pretty mediocre season last year, but these are, in my opinion, are the top three teams of the Central Division, and usually that doesn't change for a while, so I'm putting St. Louis here with 103 points. Next, I have the wild card one going to Minnesota with 94 points. I think a solid team, I think they should be a playoff team this season, and I think if they're playing the right team in the playoffs, they could even pass the first round. Next, I have Chicago, placing with the wild card number 2 and 89 points. Chicago now has Fleury, they now have Seth Jones, and with their already core, I think they should be able to clinch a playoff spot. I think they're maybe not quite done their rebuild stage, but I do think they've done a decent amount of moves this offseason. Next, I have Nashville with 74 points, and the reason I have Nashville down here is because, well, there's no other room there. There's no other place for them to go. This Central Division is too amazing, so I'm putting them with 74, and like I said, Chicago is 89 points. Next, we have the Jets, and I placed them with 70 points. The reason I put them down here, I don't see them going into the playoffs next year, or this year. I could be completely wrong. I'm just not feeling it, and with already the Central Division looking really tight. Makes a lot of sense that they would not. Next, I have Arizona placing with 65 points. I do think Arizona will be a lot better than a lot of people are expecting. I think that, they still are going to a rebuild stage, and the Central Division way too tight for them to get a playoff spot in. However, I do think they may be close to around like San Jose type level or points. I don't think they'll be as bad as some people are predicting. Next is the Metropolitan Division, and I don't think they're going to be as good this year as you may think. However, I do think they'll be well, that's not true. I think their core and their top of the league may not be as strong. However, I think throughout, from top to bottom, they will be a strong, definitely a strong division. So I have Pittsburgh placing in top 101 points. Pittsburgh is just one of those teams that just seems to do good all the every year. Maybe not in the playoffs anymore, but definitely still in this season. I think that they placed top in the East Division last year. I think they could place top in the Metro this year as well. Next, I have the Capitals placing 99 points. The Capitals, I was honestly not going to put a playoff spot till I learned that they have Ovi back, and Ovi has the chance to beat Gretzky's record. With Ovi's determination, I think he'll be able to carry his team to a playoff spot, and most likely they're the Capitals, so they're going to place either first or second. Next, I have Philadelphia. It's their year to come back. If you know the Flyers, they do this on and off playoff thing. So this year is their year to come back with 94 points. I think they'd be a solid team throughout the season, and I do think just a basic Metropolitan core will be the core of this year. Next, I have Islanders with wildcard number 2. Wildcard number 2 just makes sense to go the Islanders. The Islanders look like a upsetter team as they always do, and I think they should be able to maybe place in last in the playoffs or quite close to that, but be able to do some damage in the playoffs. I'm going to give them 89 points for that. Next, I have Carolina with 85 points. Honestly, Carolina seems like a team that should make it to the playoffs. However, Carolina, I don't know, because I already have all my playoff spots filled up, so I don't really think I will give one to Carolina. However, Carolina is able to fix goaltenders. They gave Reiner another chance. They helped Mrazek out. So with Anderson, even though Anderson is not the strongest goaltender in net, I think he should be able to be helped by Carolina to become a better goaltender. Next, I have New Jersey with 81 points. I am pretty confident in New Jersey getting 6th place. I just think they made some right moves over the last few years, so I'm going to give them 6. I'm pretty confident in that. So now I just had this team that was going to be in between New Jersey and Columbus, who I was pretty confident would be the 8th place. So I gave it to the Rangers as they were the remaining team. So I'm going to give them 76 points. Of course, now they have Ryan Reeves, which should give them a bit of strong defense, but I feel like they're more of an offensive team, and Ryan Reeves will not really fit maybe the structure of the team, which may not really help them out in much. So I'm going to give them 76 points for that. Next, I have Columbus with 53 points at the bottom of this division. I think a lot of people would agree with me that it could have just been a bit of a fluke last year, but with the injuries, with trades, they're a completely different team this year, and I don't think they're ready to be that. Next, I have the Atlantic Division, and, I think the President's Trophy will honestly go to Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't see any other team it could go to. Of course, it could go to Colorado. Of course, it could go to Vegas. Of course, it could go to all these other good teams. However, I'm pretty confident in Tampa Bay being able to get this epic season because of how good they are. I'm going to give them 119 points just because of that. Next, I have the Florida Panthers with 111 points. I think a lot of people agree with me that the Florida teams this year should lead the Atlantic Division, and I think that just as well. Next, I have Boston with 95. I really don't see Boston getting any worse than 3rd in the division, in any division as of right now. I think Boston just anywhere from 1st to 3rd. I think that's their margins right now. Next, I have the wild card number 1 going to Toronto, and of course, Toronto could be the worst in the playoffs. Could maybe even miss the playoffs this year. But now they have Mrazek and net. They should be able to clinch the playoffs. I believe they were like 5th last year in the entire league. They definitely should make the playoffs. Of course, things are going back to normal, though. I am going to give them the wild card spot. I'm going to put them above the Islanders, though, just because I think they're a bit stronger. Next, I have Ottawa placing with 77 points. Oh, sorry. Yes, let me go back with the points. Boston 95, Toronto 92, and yes, now we have Ottawa 77. This is a hot take. I know people are going to be like, what? You think Ottawa's going to be that good? And honestly, I think they're on their way up, and I think that they're going to have a rock season this year, so I'm going to put them there. Next, I have the Canadiens with 76 points, just a point behind, honestly. I think the Canadiens will be able to do really well this year, but I just think it comes down to losing their core with Weber being injured, with Perry going to Tampa Bay, with Deneau not being there either. I think they will have to struggle a bit. Of course, they do have Price, though, so this should be a pretty decent team throughout the season. Next, I have Buffalo with 57 points. And honestly, I was thinking that, Detroit should be above Buffalo, but when it came down to the fact that both these teams are fairly bad, I think that Buffalo just needs that extra push, extra bit of points for their fan base to stay alive. So I'm going to give them 57, and I'm going to finish off with Detroit with 54 points. I think these teams will definitely be at the bottom of the division. Whoever's bottom entirely, that will be up to standings to happen out, but I'm definitely pretty confident in what I've done. So please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, to add to that, just a bit of a recap. Like I said, San Jose, I don't think is ready to rebuild. Seattle, though, I think it should definitely be a playoff team. Tampa Bay, like I said, President's Trophy makes sense in my opinion. Pittsburgh should be pretty good this year too, maybe even good in the playoffs as well. And Arizona, I just don't feel they're as bad as a lot of people were thinking. But I am going to agree with everyone that Chicago should be a playoff team. So that's your recap. Remember to subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. And let's leave.